Okay, I'm going to pick like random, and we're going to start the clock. Here we go, you ready? Start the clock. Now, it's a film set on a spaceship with some, they're miners. These miners, they're coming back from a long... Go. It's a film about a girl, a French girl, living in Paris, and she is... Oh, it's a film, so there's two... It's set in California, it's set in Hollywood, and it's about a woman who wants to be a teenage girl who becomes ill and who... This is me absolutely sucking at trying to describe some of the world's most famous movies in under 10 seconds. Why am I doing this? And what does it have to do with filmmaking? Well, to understand that, we're going to have to rewind a little bit. A few years ago, I wrapped work on my first feature film webcast. And I was both excited and a little bit nervous about getting it out into the world. So the first thing I did was send it out to a bunch of people whose opinion mattered to me, whose feedback would be super valuable. And one of those people was a film festival organizer friend of mine. You see, my feeling was that if this film festival organizer liked my film, then other film festival organisers would like it too. And therefore the film would be ready to submit to festivals. So I sent Webcast off to this film festival organiser, and a couple of weeks later, he invites me to a party. When I arrive at the party, he invites me over where him and a bunch of filmmakers are already chatting, and he introduces me, says, "This is Paul, and he's just made this film, and I think it's really, really good." "Oh yeah?" says someone else. "What's it about?" And my film festival friend makes eye contact with me, and he starts to explain the plot of my film. The one problem being is it sounds a little bit like this. It's a film, they're miners living in Paris. A woman who wants to be a teenage girl from the army. So he's talking about one character and then the other and the backstory of these characters and the plot. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, this doesn't sound like a very simple film at all. Yet I feel like my film is a relatively straightforward story to tell. A woman who wants to be a teenage girl. And I know that this is problematic because my friend is now looking at me as he's trying to explain my movie with a face that looks less like, "Hey man, what a great simple movie to tell," and more a face of, I'm drowning, for fuck's sake, I'm drowning. And then it hits me. I hadn't actually pitched my movie idea to my film festival friend. I just told him to go and watch my movie. And he did, because he knows me. And whilst that works for him, that wasn't going to work for a wider audience, an audience who didn't know me or my movie. It didn't even work for the other people who were standing around listening to his explanation. I had to come up with a pitch for my movie. I had to work out a way to sell my movie to a specific audience. And I really should have done this from the very get-go of my film and not 4 years into it. Because not having a pitch, not having an idea of how you're going to sell your movie to an audience can have a serious knock-on effect. It could blow your confidence to ever pitch your movie to anyone ever again. It could leave potential moviegoers with the impression that you're not very good at this. And those kind of knocks to your confidence can leave you wondering whether or not you really can become the filmmaker that you really want to be. Screw that. It's not your movie idea is bad or that you're a bad filmmaker, it's just that your pitch is bad. The way you sell your movie hasn't been shaped or formed yet. And this is actually super important because even bad ideas get turned into movies. The only difference between those that make it and those that don't is how you sell your idea. But how do I do this most effectively? How do I cram all the most important information about my movie into, say, the average attention span of someone who's watching a video on the internet? 8 seconds. Jesus. Let's wrap that up to 10, because if you can catch their attention in the first 8 seconds, I'm sure they're going to give you another 2. I needed some help. I needed to figure out a blueprint that would help me sell my movie in 10 seconds or less, and left the audience in no doubt how simple and brilliant an idea it was. So that's what I did. I came up with a blueprint. I started doing some research. I went online and I started looking for lists of the top 100 movies. I didn't want to just choose movies I liked, I wanted more of a challenge than that. I wanted to see how this worked for all sorts of movies. And then I started trying to find one-sentence descriptions of these movies that already existed out on the web somewhere, usually on IMDb or other places where there are synopsises of films. What's the plural of synopsis? So I started delving into these sentences to see if I could find common patterns and themes that made them such an effective sell to the audience right off the bat. I also turned my attention to the world of advertising and marketing, looking for specific techniques on how to sell a product. Because the bottom line of any video or movie project, whether you want to sell it after you've made it or you're just looking for a ton of views, is that you have a product and you want people to consume it. And through this ad and marketing research, one idea kept reoccurring, and that was the rule of 3. When it comes to communicating ideas, human beings are programmed to process information through instructive pattern recognition. Of course, to communicate effectively, the pattern needs to be as small as possible. The smallest number required to be a pattern is 3. Think about it. 3 is everywhere. The 3-ring circus. 3 little pigs. The 3 stooges. 3 French hens. The 3 Billy Goats Gruff. The 3-piece suit. The 3 witches in Macbeth. The 3 witches in Hocus Pocus. 3-legged races. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. The 3 wise men. 3 traffic lights. Rock, paper, scissors. Lights, camera, action. So when it comes down to it, the fact that we like to find patterns and we enjoy simple 3 pattern structures means that any information you summarise this way is going to make it instantly more memorable to your audience. So what we actually need is a one-sentence sales pitch that highlights the 3 most important things about our movie. But what 3 things? Skipping back to my research of sentences that describe the best movies of all time, I discovered certain factors already exist. First and foremost is the movie's central idea. It's the thing that makes it different from your everyday life. It's the thing that makes it a story worth telling others. For instance, this could be an event that upends daily life. Some sort of spectacle, such as I was about to eat my breakfast one morning when my future self appeared in a time machine. An alien spaceship filled the sky above my house. I found there was no cereal left in the box. And that was the moment that changed my life forever. Yes, it doesn't have to be mega drama, but it does have to create a level of excitement in whoever you are selling the idea to. You have to make them want to ask what's going to happen next. But this central idea, this spectacle, if you like, isn't enough to sell your movie idea on its own. Why not? Because as sad as it is to say, people only care about things that are beneficial to themselves. Yes, your idea is wonderful, but how does it help me? Think about it. Are you watching this video to find out how I pitched my movie to people? Or are you watching it to find out how you can pitch your movie to people? Don't feel bad about that either, it's fine. That's why I'm making this video. It's wonderful to talk about this brilliant video you made, but you have to make that idea and the message about that relatable to the person you want to watch it. The same is true of any idea. Think about it. If Thomas Edison had pitched the light bulb as, "I've made a glass ball that glows," the whole world would have been interested for about... But instead he said something more along the lines of, and that's why we're using stuff like this today. So to make our video idea a success, we have to make that idea relatable to the audience we want to consume it. And the easiest way to make it relatable is to tell that story through the eyes of someone just like that audience. This is what I like to call the heart of the movie. It's the human angle. A story is always told through the eyes of somebody. You have to make that somebody relatable to your audience. That's why so many films describe their main character with an everyday profession. Maybe they're a postal worker, or they're a cop. Maybe they're a secretary. Maybe they're a shop owner. And even if you make them something slightly less relatable, like an astronaut, for example, then you will describe them with certain frailties that make them relatable. Such as they're an astronaut, but that means they struggle with work-life balance and family time. So spectacle and heart can make a movie both exciting and relatable to its audience, but it's still missing one key factor that seems to crop up in almost every one-sentence description I've found: context. Now, I searched Google to try and find a really decent definition of what I mean by context, and quite surprisingly, this random HR article did it really well. Context is critical because it tells you, the receiver, what importance to place on something, what assumptions to draw, or not, about what is being communicated, and most importantly, it puts meaning into the message. Context adds specificity to your writing and directs the reader's attention to a particular train of thought, thus avoiding unwanted interpretation. So providing context gives meaning and helps the audience understand your pitch quicker, which really helps when you're trying to peg down your pitch to something under 10 seconds. So simple context isn't just going to give your audience instant and definitive information about your story, but it's going to close the door on any other definition they may surmise. And the most obvious form of context that keeps coming up in these one-sentence descriptions is location. This is the world in which your movie is set. By including this key piece of information, you instantly paint a backdrop into your audience's imagination about where your story occurs. So with these three simple key elements included in your film pitch, you're going to be able to sell your idea to your audience by telling them where your story takes place, the central idea behind it, and how that idea is relatable to them. Now let's see if I can apply this blueprint to some well-known film titles and pitch you a bunch of movies in under 10 seconds. Hit the clock. Set in the African savannah, a young lion cub grows up where he must avenge his father's death and save the pride. Set in the tech world, this is the story of a young, bright student who betrayed friendship for power. This is the story of Facebook. Set in LA, a professional getaway driver goes up against a gangster who threatens those he loves most. And then actually I finally got around to doing my own film, which is why I actually set out to do this entire exercise in the first place. And here it is. Oh, there we go. Hit the clock. Set in the suburbs, two filmmakers suspect their neighbours have kidnapped a young woman and begin to run surveillance. So remember, a short, sharp pitch doesn't just sound cool, but it also comes with a bunch of positive consequences too. You're going to look more confident pitching that idea. And upon hearing it, your audience is going to be more impressed by that confidence. It's an infinite confidence loop, if you will, better known as faking it till you make it. It's going to give them the impression that you know how to tell a story and not that you're just riffing it on the spot. You're going to look prepared and professional. This is going to give your audience more belief in what you're doing. And with that belief comes greater support, including better cast, better crew, more finance, and building a bigger audience for your movie, which in turn is going to make your movie more successful. So try it yourself. Let me know how you got on with this 3-factor structure-y thing in a sentence. You can tell this last bit I'm riffing, see? Doesn't sound as prepared as the rest of my video, does it? Let me know how you get along in the comments below. I'd really love to hear if this has helped you. If you feel like liking and subscribing, do that too, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.